The price of being different is feeling alone. The reward is never being controlled. Have you ever looked at the world and felt like you don't belong? Like everyone else is speaking a language you don't quite understand, chasing things that don't impress you, following rules that don't make sense, living in a way that feels scripted? That's not your imagination. That's the reality of being a Sigma male. Most people crave belonging. They fit into groups, follow trends, and seek validation. But you see through all of it. You don't follow traditions just because they exist. You don't accept authority without questioning it. You don't chase status or approval because deep down you know those things don't define real power. This is why you feel like an alien, because you are wired differently. And while that can feel isolating, it's also what makes you dangerous in the best way possible. You have the ability to operate outside the system, to think independently, to create instead of conform. You don't just exist, you observe, analyze, and build. The world was not designed for men like you, and that's exactly why you can move through it without being controlled by it. Others seek to fit in. You carve your own path. Others react to the world. You study it. Others play the game. You rewrite the rules. So if you've ever felt like an outsider, understand this. You're not broken, you're free. And in a world that thrives on control, nothing is more powerful than that. Number one, they don't care about what's normal. Most people live by an unspoken script. Go to school, get a job, fit in, follow the trends, don't ask too many questions. And if you dare step outside that script, society looks at you like there's something wrong with you. But Sigma males don't just step outside the script, they tear it up and write their own. They don't follow rules just because they exist. They don't believe in doing something just because that's how it's always been done. They question everything. Why should I spend years climbing a corporate ladder when I can build my own? Why should I care about impressing strangers? Why should I conform to traditions that make no sense? This refusal to accept the status quo makes them feel like outsiders in a world that desperately wants everyone to fall in line. It's not that they're rebels for the sake of rebellion, they simply refuse to waste their lives following empty traditions. While others blindly chase what's normal, whether it's buying expensive things for social approval, forcing themselves into relationships that don't fulfill them, or pursuing careers they hate just to fit in, Sigma males walk a different path. And because of that, they often feel like aliens among people who never stop to question why they do what they do. But here's the twist. Deep down, people admire that freedom. They might mock it, they might misunderstand it, but they respect it. Because secretly, everyone wishes they had the courage to break free from the pressures of normal. Sigma males aren't lost. They aren't antisocial, they aren't confused. They just refuse to live a life that doesn't make sense to them. And while the world may never fully understand them, it will always be forced to notice them. Because men who carve their own path are the ones who truly shape the world, while everyone else simply follows it. Number two, they process life at a different speed. Most people move through life in a blur, reacting, chasing, and following whatever grabs their attention. A new trend, they jump on it. A fleeting emotion, they act on it. A quick decision, they make it without a second thought. The world rewards speed, not depth. Impulse, not wisdom. Noise, not silence. But Sigma males, they don't move like that. They don't just react to life, they study it. They watch, they analyze, and they take their time before making a move. While the world rushes forward, they pause and ask, does this actually make sense? Is this worth my time? What's the long-term cost of this decision? This makes them seem slow to those who thrive on instant gratification. But in reality, they're just playing a different game, a more intelligent game. Because while everyone else is chasing quick dopamine hits, whether it's through impulsive choices, emotional reactions, or blindly following the crowd, Sigma males are thinking 10 steps ahead. They don't jump into relationships because of loneliness. They don't chase money without purpose. They don't follow the latest trends just to fit in. Every move they make is intentional, deliberate, and backed by logic, not impulse. And because of this, people often misunderstand them. They think Sigma males are indecisive or detached, when in reality they're just focused. But here's where it gets interesting. While others burn out, make regretful choices, and get trapped in cycles of emotional chaos, Sigma males stay steady. They move at their own pace, and because of that, they rarely make the kind of reckless mistakes that ruin lives. This ability to slow down, detach from the noise, and think before acting is rare, and in a world that rewards speed over wisdom, it makes them look like aliens. But when the dust settles and the impulsive crowd faces the consequences of their choices, the Sigma male is exactly where he planned to be, miles ahead, untouched and completely in control. Number 3, they feel like time travelers. Sigma males don't just live in the present, they see beyond it. While most people are consumed by short-term pleasures, fleeting trends, and the illusion of urgency, Sigmas think in decades, not days. They play the long game, making decisions that may not make sense to others in the moment, but will put them miles ahead in the future. This ability to think ahead often makes them feel like time travelers, trapped in a world that's moving too slowly. They watch people chase the same distractions, fall into the same traps, and repeat cycles they predicted years ago. They see patterns unfolding before others even realize they exist. It's like watching reruns of a show where they already know how every episode ends. Because of this, Sigma males often feel disconnected from their peers. While others are debating the latest gossip, obsessing over temporary trends, or seeking validation through superficial achievements, Sigmas are quietly building something deeper, something that actually matters. They don't just ask, what do I want right now? They ask, who do I want to be in 10 years? This mindset makes them seem distant, even alien to those who live purely in the moment. It's not that they don't understand the present, it's that they see past it. They know which trends will fade, which relationships will collapse, and which decisions will have consequences others aren't thinking about yet. And perhaps the most frustrating part, they can't explain it to most people. Try telling someone wrapped up in instant gratification that their actions today are setting them up for failure a decade from now. They won't listen. So Sigma males walk alone, feeling like they belong to a future that hasn't arrived yet, a future where people have outgrown the need for constant distraction, shallow validation, and meaningless competition. Until then, they remain outsiders, watching a world that's still catching up to what they already know. Number 4. Sigma males struggle with the concept of blind belief. Most people accept things as they are. They're taught what to believe about religion, culture, politics, and success, and they follow it without much question. If a belief is widely accepted, it must be true, right? Not for Sigma males. They don't just accept ideas because they're popular. They dissect them. They take a belief system apart, inspect every piece, and put it back together to see if it still holds up. And more often than not, they find cracks, contradictions, hidden motives, outdated logic, things most people either don't notice or choose to ignore. This makes faith in any form a complicated thing for them. Not just religious faith, but faith in systems, authority, traditions, anything that demands blind obedience. It's not that they reject everything, but they can't follow anything just because. They need proof, logic, consistency. And most belief systems don't hold up under that level of scrutiny. This puts them in an awkward position. When people say just trust it or you just have to believe, they can't do it. When society pushes a one-size-fits-all narrative, their instinct is to resist. While others find comfort in certainty, Sigmas are more comfortable with uncertainty, because at least it's honest. This doesn't mean they walk through life faithless. It means their faith is earned, not handed to them. If they believe in something, it's because they've tested it, challenged it, and found it to be solid. If they trust someone, it's because that trust has been proven over time, not because it was expected. Their relentless need for truth makes them outsiders, but it also makes them free. While others remain trapped in belief systems they never questioned, a Sigma male moves through life on his own terms. No illusions, no blind faith, just the clarity of his own mind. Number 5, Sigma males think in systems, not social scripts. Most people move through life on autopilot. They follow invisible rules, laugh at the right moments, say what's expected, believe what's popular. Society runs on an unspoken script, and the majority never even realize they're following one. But Sigma males, they see the script for what it is, a set of programmed responses designed to keep people predictable and easy to manage. For a Sigma, life isn't some sacred tradition that must be followed. It's an open source program, something that can be rewritten, restructured, or completely ignored. They analyze situations like a coder dissecting an algorithm, seeing the mechanics behind why people behave the way they do. When someone conforms, they ask why. When a rule exists, they ask who benefits from this. This ability to strip everything down to its core function makes them immune to the kind of social conditioning that keeps most people in line. Because they don't play by the script, they come across as detached, like they're watching a predictable movie while everyone else is in it, fully convinced it's real. They see emotional manipulation for what it is. They understand power dynamics without being controlled by them. They recognize when people are just repeating things they've been taught rather than thinking for themselves. And most of all, they see how easy it is for the world to control those who never question the system. This level of awareness isolates them. While others bond over shared illusions, Sigmas sit on the outside, observing. They don't get swept up in groupthink. They don't let emotions dictate their choices. They don't engage in status games that everyone else takes so seriously. To the average person, this makes them seem strange, maybe even cold. But to a Sigma, it's the only way to live freely, not as a character in someone else's story, but as the architect of their own. Number 6, Sigma males don't fear being alone, they fear being trapped. Most people run from loneliness like it's a disease. They fill their lives with noise, constant socializing, endless scrolling, meaningless small talk, just to avoid sitting alone with their own thoughts. But Sigma males, they don't just tolerate solitude, they embrace it. It's not that they hate people, it's that most interactions feel empty to them. They don't care for surface-level conversations, forced friendships, or relationships built on convenience rather than connection. To them, that is the real prison, being stuck in interactions that drain them rather than enrich them. Sigma males aren't antisocial, they're selectively social. They don't chase company just for the sake of it. If a relationship, romantic or platonic, doesn't add depth, purpose, or meaning to their life, they won't force it. They'd rather walk alone than be weighed down by shallow connections. What truly unsettles a Sigma male isn't solitude, it's entrapment. The thought of being locked into a job they hate, a lifestyle that doesn't match their values, or a relationship that suffocates them, that's what keeps them up at night. They need the freedom to move, to grow, to evolve, without being shackled by society's expectations. This is why they don't rush into commitments. They take their time observing, analyzing, and ensuring that whatever they invest in, be it friendships, careers, or relationships, is worth it. They don't fear missing out. They fear settling for something that limits them. To the outside world, their love for solitude can seem cold or distant. But in reality, it's their way of protecting their most valuable asset, their independence. While others fear being alone, Sigma males know something most people don't. Solitude isn't a weakness, it's a weapon. And in a world that constantly tries to box people in, the ability to stand alone is what makes them truly unstoppable. Number 7, Sigma males don't see themselves as victims of the world, but as outsiders who can bend it. Most people, when they feel like outsiders, either try desperately to fit in or blame the world for not accepting them. They fall into self-pity, waiting for society to recognize them, to make space for them, to play by their rules. Sigma males? They don't have that problem. They don't see the world as something stacked against them. They see it as a game, one that's full of hidden rules, loopholes, and backdoors for those sharp enough to find them. While others complain about being trapped by the system, Sigma males quietly decode it. They analyze, adapt, and move through life in ways most people don't even notice. They don't ask for permission, they don't wait for an invitation, and they definitely don't expect fairness. Instead, they take a cold, hard look at reality and ask, how do I make this work for me? If one path is blocked, they carve a new one. If a system is rigged, they learn its flaws and turn them into advantages. And this is what makes them so dangerous. They're not part of the herd. They're not fighting for a place in a structure someone else built. They're creating their own structures. While the masses chase success by following a pre-written script, Sigma males are writing their own script from scratch. They don't care about traditional routes, standard timelines, or what's considered normal. If the existing paths don't suit them, they build a hidden door and walk through it. This is why they don't just survive in an unfair world. They thrive in it, not by fighting the system, not by begging for recognition, but by outthinking, outmaneuvering, and outperforming those who are still trying to play by the rules. Sigma males don't bend to the world, they bend the world to them. Number 8. They don't belong to any tribe, and that terrifies people. People need labels. They want to know where you stand, what group you belong to, what side you've chosen. It makes them comfortable. If they can put you in a category, left or right, introvert or extrovert, traditional or modern, they feel like they understand you. But Sigma males? They don't give people that satisfaction. They don't subscribe to any group, movement or ideology. They don't pledge loyalty to social cliques or political tribes. They don't follow the herd just to feel included. And that makes people deeply uncomfortable. Because the truth is, most people don't stand for anything on their own. They take their beliefs, their opinions, even their personalities from the groups they associate with. Their identity isn't theirs, it's borrowed. And when they see a Sigma male walking alone, unaffected, thinking for himself, it shakes them. It forces them to ask a question they don't want to answer. Who am I without my tribe? That's why society reacts so strongly to Sigma males. They call them cold, detached, or difficult. But the reality is they're just independent. And that kind of independence is rare, it's unsettling. Because a man who doesn't belong to any tribe is a man who can't be easily manipulated, pressured, or controlled. Sigma males aren't outcast because they're weak. They're outcast because they refuse to trade their individuality for belonging. They're not rebels looking for a fight. They simply don't need a crowd to validate who they are. And that's terrifying to a world that only knows how to function in groups. Because a man who thinks for himself, who stands alone without fear, is a man the world will never quite understand and never be able to control. Number 9, they absorb information instead of just consuming it. Most people absorb information the way they watch TV, passively. They scroll, listen, and accept what's being fed to them without question. They hear a headline and repeat it. They see a trend and follow it. They listen to an authority figure and obey. But Sigma males, they process information differently. They don't just consume content, they dissect it. Every piece of information that reaches them goes through a filter, one that checks for bias, logic, and hidden agendas. They ask, who benefits from this? What's not being said? What's the bigger picture? They analyze the source, the context, the contradictions. Because of this, they rarely fall for propaganda, emotional manipulation, or social conditioning. While most people are programmed by the media, Sigma males are too busy reverse engineering the code. This makes them seem almost alien. In a world where people blindly trust the news, the internet, and the opinions of the loudest voices, a Sigma's skepticism stands out. They don't react impulsively to information. They sit with it, break it down, and decide for themselves. That ability alone gives them a massive advantage. While others are influenced by trends and viral narratives, Sigmas operate from a position of clarity and independence. This also makes them difficult to manipulate. You can't push a Sigma into an opinion just because everyone believes it. You can't scare them into obedience with half-truths or convince them with emotional arguments alone. They require logic, proof, and reasoning, and if something doesn't hold up, they discard it without hesitation. But this level of awareness comes at a price. It isolates them. Most people want to believe what's easy and comfortable, and they don't appreciate someone pointing out the flaws in their reality. A Sigma's refusal to accept things blindly can make them seem detached, cold, even arrogant. But the truth is, they're not trying to be difficult. They're just unwilling to let the world think for them. Number 10, they're not addicted to dopamine like everyone else. Most people are slaves to their impulses, chasing quick highs and instant rewards without ever realizing they're trapped. They scroll mindlessly through social media, looking for a hit of validation. They binge on entertainment, drowning in distractions. They chase attention, approval, and comfort, anything to avoid being alone with their own thoughts. Sigma males, they don't operate like that. They understand something most people never will. True power comes from mastering yourself, not indulging every urge that crosses your mind. They don't need constant stimulation to feel alive. They can sit in silence for hours, lost in thought, working on their craft, or simply observing the world. And to most people, that level of self-control is almost unnatural. Society has trained people to crave easy rewards, the quick dopamine rush of a like, a comment, a notification. It's an addiction most don't even recognize, but Sigma males aren't wired for that. They don't seek validation, and they don't waste energy on things that don't serve them. They'd rather put in the work, delay gratification and build something real, whether it's a skill, a business, or their own personal growth. And this makes them dangerous. Because a man who isn't hooked on distractions, who doesn't need constant external rewards, is a man who can't be controlled. He doesn't need to be entertained because he finds fulfillment in discipline. He doesn't need approval because he validates himself. He doesn't need to chase the next high because he's already focused on something bigger. This is why Sigma males feel like aliens. While the world numbs itself with cheap dopamine, they're sharpening their minds, strengthening their discipline, and moving with purpose. They don't waste time chasing feelings, they chase mastery, and that's why, when others finally wake up from their dopamine haze, they look around and realize the Sigma male is already 10 steps ahead. Number 11, they're unimpressed by what impresses everyone else. Society worships status. People chase expensive cars, designer brands, luxury vacations, all in a desperate attempt to look successful rather than be successful. They measure their worth by what they can show off, hoping for admiration from people who don't even matter. Sigma males? They couldn't care less. They don't see success in shiny objects or overpriced symbols. They see it in who you are, not in what you own. A man with discipline, depth, and intelligence. That's impressive. A man who can build something from nothing, who controls his emotions, who doesn't need validation. That's real power. This is why Sigma males often feel like they're watching the world from the outside, observing people desperately chasing things that have no real value. They see through the illusion. They know that wealth without wisdom is just decoration, that status without substance is empty, that a man with a $10,000 suit and no self-control is still just a weak man in expensive fabric. And because they refuse to play this game, people assume they're weird, arrogant, or even jealous. But the truth is, Sigma males could have those things if they wanted. They just don't see the point. They don't buy things to impress. They buy things because they serve a purpose. They don't chase money for status. They build wealth for freedom. And they don't seek approval because they validate themselves. This mindset makes them rare. It makes them misunderstood. But it also makes them dangerous. Because a man who isn't distracted by the superficial, who isn't blinded by materialism, is a man who sees reality as it truly is. And in a world where most people are chasing illusions, the Sigma male is already playing a completely different game, one that actually matters. In conclusion, if you're a Sigma male, you've probably spent your life feeling like an outsider, like you're watching the world rather than being a part of it, like the things that excite most people seem pointless to you, and the things you value are things few even notice. That feeling isn't a flaw. It's proof that you see what others don't. The world is designed for the majority. The ones who follow the script, seek approval, and move as a collective. But Sigmas, you weren't built for the herd. You weren't meant to fit neatly into a system that runs on blind belief and shallow validation. You weren't put here to play a role in someone else's movie. You were meant to rewrite the script entirely. Yes, being different can be isolating. You'll question things no one else questions. You'll see through things people swear are real. You'll find it hard to connect with a world that moves on autopilot while you analyze every detail, but that's your advantage. That's what makes you powerful. While others live reactively, you live strategically. While they chase distractions, you build mastery. While they fear solitude, you thrive in it. You weren't built to belong, you were built to create. So stop trying to find your place in a world that was never meant to contain you. Instead, carve out your own. The world needs people who don't just follow but think, who don't just accept but question, who don't just exist but build. So keep going, keep thinking differently. Keep being the alien in a world that barely understands its own programming. Because while the majority are busy playing their roles, you're free. And that's the rarest thing of all.